Yes.
Okay, no further questions, Judge.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Young, if you'd like to proceed.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Mr. Franklin, Mr. DeMontes Franklin is a young man, Your Honor, who, although didn't grow up in the best of circumstances, he actually tried to stay out of trouble by finishing high school and moving on to college, where he was given an athletic scholarship there. During this incident, Mr. Franklin was mourning and suffered the death of his brother. This incident location was where his family lives, Your Honor, and he went to this incident location to congregate with his family because of the death of his brother. Mr. Franklin is not a flight risk, Your Honor. He grew up in this region. He's lived in this region for the duration of his life, as well as his mom, his family, and his dad. Before his arrest, he was employed, and he also helped his brother sell merchandise with his business, TTA LLC. He's a graduate, Your Honor, of Frederick Douglass High, and he received an athletic scholarship in basketball. He was involved in a mentoring program where his mentor is Dr. Stephen Lee of the Unity Network Counseling Center. I believe Mr. Lee is on this call in support of Mr. Franklin's release. He works for Fulton County State DA's office. Mr. Franklin is not a risk to reoffend. He has no felony record, Your Honor. He's never been accused of any violent accusations before this matter. He has no past accusations as far as being a risk to reoffend or risk to harm anyone in the community or any witnesses. He actually be considered an asset of this community, as he's a part of the AAU basketball team, where he's been on multiple groups that mentored younger guys, as well as volunteered in the community. Mr. Franklin, I have three character letters here from the deceased's fiance in support of Mr. Franklin's release. In her letter, Your Honor, that is notarized, she does speak about Mr. Franklin's character, how he is a positive person, that he never gets in trouble, and that he was one of her fiance's only positive friend that encouraged him to stay out of trouble. I also have a character letter from a community educator, Ms. Jasmine Moore. And she talks about his volunteer work in the community and volunteering in her class, and how he has a great character and tries to stay out of trouble, although his family lives in a dangerous neighborhood. The last character letter I have is from Mr. Lee of the Unity Network Counseling Center. Without wasting too much of the court's time, if I may, this letter provides that this character reference is on behalf of his mentee. He's a good moral character. He's known him since he was 17 years old. He served as a mentor and counselor for Mr. Franklin. He states that he's a wonderful young man, and if the court is inclined to release him, he would take that responsibility to continue to mentor him and to make sure that he is present at all of his upcoming court dates to answer to these charges. It is my sincere hope the court takes this letter into consideration of the time of the bond hearing. Despite the current case, I still believe DeMontavious Franklin to be an honorable individual, a valuable member of my community, and a good human being. Mr. Franklin was not hunted down for this warrant. He actually turned himself into the Fulton County Jail. He was not reluctant to speak with detectives at all. He wanted to put this matter to rest, as he had no intentions of any murder. There is no dispute that he was not the shooter of his best friend. I believe I have had a chance to look at the arrest warrant, and the arrest warrant shows that he did not have a gun. The reason he is implicated in this situation is because he was with several other people who seem to have bad intentions. Based on these factors, Your Honor, we believe that he's a good candidate for bond, and we ask that the court give him a reasonable bond. Of course, he is willing to honor any of the court stipulations as far as an ankle monitor or a curfew and any other condition that the court seems fit.
Ms. Young, how old is Mr. Franklin?
He is 24.
And was he still enrolled in college?
So unfortunately, while home on break, Mr. Franklin was a victim to a stray bullet. And so he was actually shot in his neck. He went through a lot of things due to that issue. And so that has slowed down his re-entry back into college.
Okay. And how long ago was that?
He just had the bullet removed about 3 months ago. I can't be 100% sure, Your Honor, as far as when he got shot. I believe it was around 2019,
Okay.
in the beginning of 2019.
All right. And to your knowledge, Ms. Young, does he have any, and I can also ask Mr. Abadi, but does he have any other criminal background?
No criminal background, no other pending charges.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Abadi?
Thank you, Judge. At this time, Your Honor, the state would respectfully request you deny defense counsel's motion for bond. The state would submit to Your Honor that we believe the defendant is a threat or danger to the people and the community based on the facts and circumstances of this case. On July 6th of this year, the victim in this case, Mr. Anthony McGee, was killed after being shot with several rifle rounds. Once detectives did arrive, they were able to get some video surveillance where they saw 6 armed people, all armed with rifles, assault rifles, with dark clothing on. They were able to show the video to the father of Mr. Franklin, who identified Mr. Franklin and his brother, DeMontez Franklin, as individuals who were walking with the assault rifles and quickly scattered after shots were fired, which was seen on the video. So based upon that, we would submit to Your Honor that he's a threat to the community, as this was an apartment complex where there were several people living in the community or a neighborhood area. I'd also submit to Your Honor he's a risk of intimidating witnesses, as the defendant was positively identified by his own father. So based on those facts and circumstances, Your Honor, we would submit to the court that he is not an appropriate candidate for bond at this time.
Okay, so Mr. Franklin's father identified him, or the father of the victim?
Mr. Franklin's father.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why, Mr. Abadi, why would that lead to intimidation?
I mean, he was ID'd as one of the shooters, and be the state's the indication from the state that there's the ability for the defendant, if he's not in the custody of the Fulton County Sheriff's Department, he'd be able to intimidate or persuade his father to recant the testimony where he IDs his son as one of the individuals who walks in with the assault rifle that leads to the shooting. And
has Mr. Franklin's brother also been charged?
He was also charged. His bond hearing was last week in front of Judge Krause, and his bond was denied.
And okay, I'm sorry, the question that I had in mind was for Ms. Young. Anything further from the state?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Young, in terms of bond, what were you looking at? Where would he live? What?
Okay. So although he doesn't live with his father, I've actually had a chance to speak with his father, Your Honor. He's not intimidated at all. He didn't identify his son as to be a shooter. He identified his son in the apartment complex, which there is no dispute of that. Also, I have the arrest warrant right here, and it says that one person with someone carrying an assault rifle, and that person happens to be the deceased. I've also spoken with homicide detective Calvin Thompson in this case, Your Honor, and based on the situation, he stated that he's not opposed to bond in this case. He's been living with his aunt, who's also a co-defendant. Anyone that was with them going to see those family members at that apartment complex is indicted in this case. He wasn't living at that apartment complex, but he was living with the aunt. However, he has other places that he can live in.
Okay, now, just give me 1 second. Is there anything online about this case? Because I